She thought she had the perfect marriage until a stranger called and said 5 words that changed everything. Not an affair, something far worse. In that moment, her beautiful life stopped feeling like a dream and started looking like a trap. The man she trusted most had been planning something she never saw coming. And by the time she uncovered the truth, someone was about to lose everything. Welcome back to Tales by Laju. Before we begin, tell me where you're watching from. I would really like to know. This story will make you question how well we really know the people closest to us. Because sometimes the biggest betrayal is not the cheating, it's the plans they were making while they're looking at your face every single day. So grab your coffee, get comfortable. Let me tell you how one phone call turned a perfect marriage into a carefully built trap. Lauren Barton had a kind of life people screenshot and saved on their phones. A 6-bedroom house in Buckhead, Atlanta. A husband who wore suits that cost more than most people's rent. 2 kids in private school. A weekly blowout at the salon on Peachtree. And an Instagram page that made strangers comment goals every single week. Her husband, Anthony Barton, was the founder of Barton Capital Group, a private equity firm that had made him rich before he turned 40. He was handsome in that easy, effortless way. The kind of man who walked into a room and people turned to look, not because he was loud, but because he carried himself like someone who had never been told no. They had been married 11 years. Lauren was 38. Anthony was 42. And for most of those 11 years, she had believed, genuinely, deeply believed, that she was lucky. She had met Anthony at a charity gala in 2013. She was a junior financial analyst at the time. He was already building his firm. He had walked over to her with 2 glasses of champagne and said, "You look like the only interesting person in this room." She had laughed. She had taken the champagne and she had never really looked back. Their first years were electric. He was attentive, generous, ambitious. He flew her to Paris for her birthday. He remembered small things, the way she took her coffee, the authors she liked, the fact that she hated yellow flowers. He made her feel seen. The kids came. First Bobby, then Chloe. The house grew bigger. The trips got more expensive. The life got louder and shinier. And somewhere in all that noise, Lauren stopped noticing that Anthony had gotten quieter. Not cold, just absent. Physically present, but somewhere else in his mind. She told herself it was work. The firm had expanded. He had investors to manage, deals to close, and a reputation to protect. She told herself that this was just what long marriages looked like. The electric phase fades. That's normal. Everyone says so. So she kept running the household, raising the kids, showing up to his company dinners in the right dress, and saying the right things to the right people. She was the perfect CEO wife. She had refined it into an art form, and she was fine. She kept telling herself she was fine. The cracks were small at first. A weekend trip to New York that ran 3 days longer than planned. A phone that was suddenly always face down on the counter. A new habit of showering immediately when he got home, which he had never done before in 11 years of marriage. A slight distance in his eyes when she talked to him, like he was listening but not hearing. She noticed, but she filed it away, labeled it stress, moved on. The call came on a Tuesday morning in March. Lauren was in the kitchen. The kids were at school. She was on her second coffee, still in her robe, going through emails on her laptop. Her personal cell buzzed on the counter. Unknown number, Atlanta area code. She almost didn't pick up. She was busy. She had a PTA meeting to prep for and a contractor coming at noon about the backyard renovation. But something made her answer. "Hello?" There was a pause on the other end, a breath, and then a woman's voice, calm, careful, like someone who had rehearsed what they were going to say but was still nervous. "Is this Lauren Barton, Anthony Barton's wife?" Lauren set down her coffee cup slowly. "Yes," she said. "Who is this?" Another pause. "My name is Amanda Bishop, and I think we really need to talk." Lauren's first instinct was to hang up. Her second instinct was anger, the hot, immediate kind that rises before your brain even fully processes what is happening. She knew, on some animal level, exactly what this phone call was. She had watched enough movies, read enough foreigns late at night when sleep would not come. She knew what a call like this meant, but she did not hang up, and she did not scream. She sat very still at her kitchen counter, both hands wrapped around her coffee mug, and she said, "Talk." Amanda's voice was steady. She spoke like a woman who had spent a long time getting herself ready for this moment. She laid it out, cleanly, like facts on a table. She said she had been seeing Anthony for 14 months. They had met at a conference in Dallas. Barton Capital had been presenting to a group of investment partners, and Amanda worked in corporate finance for one of those partner firms. Anthony had been charming, brilliant, attentive. Lauren's stomach turned at that word, attentive. She knew exactly what that felt like. Amanda said it had started as dinners, then hotel rooms. Then Anthony had started talking about the future, his and Amanda's future. He told her his marriage was hollow, that Lauren was cold, that they were basically just co-parents at this point, that he had stayed for the kids, but that he was miserable, that Amanda was the first real thing he had felt in years. Lauren closed her eyes. She knew every line of that script. She had heard fragments of it, not directed at her, but she had heard Anthony say things. That their marriage was complicated, that he and Lauren were in a tough place. She had assumed he was venting to friends. She had never imagined he was saying it while in bed with someone else. "Why are you calling me?" Lauren asked. Her voice came out steadier than she expected. Amanda was quiet for a second. Then she said, "Because 3 weeks ago, I found out I am not the only one." Lauren opened her eyes. "What?" "There's another woman," Amanda said, "a third person. Her name is Courtney. She is 26. She works at his gym. I found out because I have a friend who works in his building, and she saw Anthony with this girl twice, once in the parking garage, once at a restaurant in Midtown. I confronted Anthony about it. He denied it, so I did some digging." She paused. "Lauren, I found hotel receipts from the past 4 months, card statements. He has a credit card you probably do not know about, an Amex Platinum under a business account for a Shell LLC called HCG Ventures. He uses it for travel, dinners, hotel rooms. I have the account number." Lauren stared at the wall across from her. There was a framed family photo on that wall. Anthony had his arm around her. They were laughing. Bobby was on his shoulders. Chloe was mid-jump, caught in the air, grinning. "Why?" Lauren said slowly. "Are you telling me this? You are his girlfriend. Why would you blow this up?" "Because I am not his girlfriend," Amanda said. And for the first time, Lauren heard something raw in her voice. "I was a tool. He was never leaving you. I understand that now. The things he told me about your marriage, I think he tells every woman those things. It is a system. And I was stupid enough to fall for it." She took a breath. "I am not calling to hurt you. I am calling because you deserve to know what you are actually dealing with. And because if you are going to make a decision about your life, whether to stay, whether to leave, whatever, you should make it with real information, not the version of reality Anthony is selling you." Lauren sat in silence for a long moment. Then she asked the question she already knew the answer to. "How long have you suspected he was lying to you?" Amanda said, "Longer than I admitted to myself." Lauren understood that perfectly. "Send me everything you have," Lauren said. "Every receipt, every statement, the account number, everything." There was a pause. Then Amanda said, "You're not falling apart. Not yet," Lauren said quietly. "Send me the files." By noon that day, Lauren had a folder in her email with 47 attachments. She sat at her home office desk, the one Anthony had surprised her with for her birthday 3 years ago. Custom built, white oak, her initials carved into the corner, and she went through every single file. Amanda had been thorough. Lauren could see that immediately. This was not a woman who acted on emotion. She was organized. Every document was labeled. Dates, amounts, locations. The Amex statements went back 16 months, 14 hotel charges, 8 of them in Atlanta. The others in New York, Miami, Dallas, and one in Napa. The Atlanta hotels were not cheap places. The Ritz, the Four Seasons, the W in Midtown. The restaurant charges were worse, not because of the amounts Anthony spent freely that had never been unusual, but because of the timing. Several of those dinners had happened on nights where Lauren remembered exactly where she had been. A charity auction where she had sat next to Anthony's business partner and made small talk for 3 hours, waiting for Anthony to arrive. He had texted, "Running late, closing a deal, go ahead and eat." A birthday dinner for Lauren's friend Vanessa, where Anthony had shown up an hour late, kissed her cheek and whispered something about back-to-back calls. She remembered forgiving those moments easily. She had been good at that. There was a hotel charge from November 14th. Lauren sat with that date for a while. November 14th. That was the night Anthony had stayed at the Grand Hyatt in New York. She had known about that trip. He said he had a 2-day investor meeting. She pulled up her phone, scrolled back to November 14th in the text thread. Anthony had sent her a photo that night. The Manhattan skyline from what looked like a hotel room window. He had written, "Miss you guys, this city never sleeps. Back Thursday." She had replied with a heart emoji and a photo of the kids eating dinner. The hotel room in the Amex statement was booked for 2 guests. Lauren set her phone down. She felt something, but it wasn't grief. Not yet. It was something closer to clarity. Like a room coming into focus after years of soft light. She picked up her phone again and called her sister Rachel, who was a family law attorney in Charlotte. "I need you to come to Atlanta," Lauren said when Rachel answered. "This weekend. Don't ask me any questions on the phone. Just come." Rachel, who knew her sister well enough to hear exactly what that tone meant, said, "I'll book a flight tonight." Then Lauren made one more call. A woman named Sandra Cole. Sandra was the kind of person Lauren had cultivated quietly over the years. Not a close friend, but a trusted one. Sandra was a private investigator who had done work for 2 of Lauren's friends during difficult moments in their marriages. Lauren had kept her number, just in case. She had always hoped she would never need it. She told Sandra what she had: the credit card, the hotel charges, the dates, the name Courtney, who worked at Anthony's gym. Sandra was businesslike, calm. She asked a few questions. She said she could have eyes on the situation within 48 hours. She quoted her rate. Lauren agreed without blinking. Then Lauren closed her laptop, got up, walked to the bathroom, turned on the shower, and stood under the hot water, fully dressed for about 4 minutes. When she came out, she changed her clothes, dried her hair, and reapplied her makeup. She had a PTA meeting at 3. She went. She sat next to the other mothers. She laughed at the right moments. She volunteered to organize the spring fundraiser. She ate one of the little chocolate chip cookies from the tray near the door. Nobody in that room had any idea. That night, Anthony came home at 7:30. He kissed her on the cheek. He ruffled Bobby's hair. He told Chloe her drawing was beautiful. He sat at a dinner table and talked about a deal he was working on, something about a tech company in Austin. A valuation dispute, a complicated negotiation. Lauren listened. She asked one question. She passed the salad. She watched his hands as he talked. The same hands that had signed a hotel receipt 2 weeks ago. The same hands that held her at her father's funeral 4 years ago. She ate her dinner. She did the dishes. She read Chloe a bedtime story. And when Anthony fell asleep that night, she lay next to him in the dark, wide awake, and she started planning. Sandra Cole called Lauren on a Thursday, 5 days after they had first spoken. "Are you somewhere private?" Sandra asked. Lauren was parked outside a coffee shop 3 miles from the house. She had told Anthony she was meeting a friend for lunch. "Yes," she said, "go ahead." Sandra laid it out without softening anything. Courtney Williams, 26 years old, certified personal trainer at Elevation Fitness in Buckhead, where Anthony held a membership. Sandra had confirmed physical contact. She had photos of Anthony and Courtney together at a restaurant in Marietta, far enough from Buckhead that they probably felt safe. She had photos of them at a hotel in Smyrna. 2 separate visits in the past 3 weeks alone. But that was not the part that made Lauren grip her steering wheel. "There's something else," Sandra said. "This one you need to sit with." Lauren said nothing. She waited. "I ran Anthony's business financials as part of standard background on the HCG Ventures account. That Shell LLC Amanda found, it is real, but it is more than a card account. HCG Ventures has been used to move money. Over the past 2 years, approximately $1.4 million has been transferred out of Barton Capital Group operating accounts into HCG Ventures, and from there into two private accounts, neither of which are joint marital accounts. Lauren's mouth went dry. He's moving money, she said. Has been moving money, Sandra said. This started before the hotel charges, before the timeline with Amanda, which suggests this was not reactive. It was not covering tracks after the fact. This was planned. Lauren stared through the windshield at nothing. He's been preparing, she said. That's my read, Sandra said. I think he has been building an exit strategy. Whether that means divorce or something else, I cannot say. But the financial structure of what I am seeing is not accidental. Someone helped him set this up. An attorney or a financial advisor who knows exactly what they are doing. Lauren asked, can you document all of it? Already in a report, Sandra said. I can have a full package to you by tomorrow. Hard copy and encrypted digital. Transaction records, photographs, business filings, the works. Send it to my sister's address in Charlotte, Lauren said. Not here. Smart, said Sandra. After she hung up, Lauren sat in the parking lot for a long time. She thought about a conversation she and Anthony had had 2 years ago. He had suggested they restructure some of their personal assets, put the vacation property in a separate holding company, reorganize the investment accounts for tax efficiency. He had brought in his own attorney. It had all seemed perfectly reasonable, boring even. She had signed what she was asked to sign. She understood now what she had signed. She called Rachel. I need you to pull everything I signed in 2022, she said. Every document. I think I may have unknowingly agreed to something I did not understand. Rachel was quiet for a moment. Then, in her attorney voice, the one that meant she was already switching into professional mode, she said, Lauren, how long has this been going on? I do not know exactly, Lauren said, but I think he has been planning this for at least 2 years. Rachel said a word that Lauren had never heard her say before. Then, do not sign anything. Do not confront him. Do not move any money. Do not change your behavior at all. I need 2 weeks. Okay, Lauren said. And Lauren, is the house in both your names? Yes. Good. Keep it that way. Do not let him suggest any changes to anything. If he brings it up, say you are too busy. Say you will look at it later. Buy me time. Lauren nodded, even though Rachel could not see her. One more thing, Rachel said, softer now. Are you okay? Lauren thought about it honestly, about the family photo on the wall, about November 14th, about 11 years and 2 children and a life she had believed in completely. Not really, she said, but I will be. She started the car. She drove home. She made dinner. 2 days after Sandra's call, Lauren texted Amanda. She had thought about it carefully. She had gone back and forth. But the more she sat with the financial picture Sandra had painted, the more she realized she needed more than documentation. She needed testimony. And Amanda, a woman in corporate finance who had first-hand access to conversations with Anthony, who had seen his behavior from the inside, was the most valuable piece Lauren had. The text was simple. I want to meet. Just us. No drama. Coffee? Amanda replied within 10 minutes. Name the place. They met at a small cafe in Decatur, far from Buckhead, on a Saturday morning while Anthony took the kids to baseball practice. Lauren arrived first. She ordered a black coffee and sat at a corner table facing the door. When Amanda walked in, Lauren's first thought, which she was ashamed of for a half second and then immediately let go, was that she was not what she expected. Amanda was in her mid-30s, professional looking, not flashy. She looked tired. She looked like a woman who had been carrying something heavy for a long time. They shook hands, which was strange and also the only correct thing to do. They sat. Neither spoke immediately. Then Amanda said, I didn't know he was married at first. I want you to know that. Lauren nodded slowly. I believe you. Amanda looked surprised by that. Lauren said, here's what I found out since you called me. And she told her, the shell company, the moved money, the restructuring of assets 2 years ago. Courtney. The timeline that suggested this was not a man in the middle of a midlife spiral. This was a man executing a strategy. Amanda's face changed as Lauren talked, not with shock, more like pieces clicking into place. She said, he told me once that he had already spoken to a divorce attorney, that he was preparing to file. He framed it as a good thing, like he was being responsible, taking care of it the right way. I thought that meant he was serious about us. He was preparing, Lauren said, just not for what you thought. Amanda looked down at her coffee. He was going to walk away clean from me, from you, from his kids, with the money already moved. That's what it looks like, Lauren said. They sat with that for a moment. Then Lauren said, my sister is an attorney. She's building a case. The financial documentation Sandra put together is solid. But I need your account of events documented, in writing, dates, conversations, anything he said to you about the business, about our marriage, about his plans. Your testimony, combined with the financial records, makes this airtight. Amanda looked at her directly. If I do this, if I give you a statement, it becomes public record eventually, in the divorce proceedings. Yes, Lauren said. I know that's a lot to ask. Amanda was quiet. Then, he told me you were controlling, that you had made his life small, that you didn't see him. I built a version of you in my head based on what he said. And then I called you, and you answered. And you didn't scream at me. You said, send me the files. And I thought, that doesn't sound like the person he described. Lauren said nothing. Amanda said, the person he described was a weapon, something to make me feel better about what I was doing. I think I was lied to as much as you were, just in a different direction. She picked up her coffee cup. I'll give you a statement. Everything. Every date, every conversation. All of it. Lauren exhaled slowly. Thank you, she said. Amanda said, don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because I'm angry, and because if a man builds this kind of trap, this carefully, this deliberately, he doesn't get to walk out clean. Lauren almost smiled. That's exactly how I feel. They talked for another hour. Not about Anthony, about other things. Their careers, a TV show they had both apparently been watching. Amanda had a rescue dog. Lauren's daughter wanted to take up violin. Normal things, human things. When they left, they didn't hug. But Amanda paused at the door and said, for what it's worth, you seem like someone who's going to be fine. Lauren looked at her and said, so do you. She meant it. She drove home and sat in her car in the garage for 3 minutes, hands on the wheel, eyes closed. Then she went inside, put on some music in the kitchen, and started making lunch for when the kids got back. Rachel filed the paperwork on a Wednesday. Lauren did not tell Anthony in advance. She did not have a dramatic confrontation. She did not cry at the dinner table or throw things or demand answers in a voice that shook. She had made peace with the fact that she would never get an honest answer from Anthony Barton. That was not the kind of man he was. The honest answers were in Sandra's report and Amanda's statement and 14 months of hotel charges on a card she was not supposed to know existed. She had Rachel. She had Sandra's documentation. She had Amanda's affidavit. She had her own attorney now, a divorce litigator named Patricia Woods, who had a reputation in Atlanta for being extraordinarily calm and extraordinarily ruthless. Patricia had reviewed every document. She had talked to Rachel. She had said to Lauren, he built a trap. We're going to make sure he's the one inside it. On the morning the papers were served, Lauren woke up at 6. She made coffee. She made the kids' lunches. She dropped Bobby and Chloe at school herself, which she didn't always do. Anthony usually took them on Wednesdays. She hugged both of them a little longer than usual and told them she loved them, and she meant it with everything she had. She was home by 8:15. Anthony was in the kitchen, jacket on, about to leave for the office. He looked up when she walked in. He said, "Hey, you took the kids. Wanted the drive?" she said. He nodded, picked up his phone off the counter, checked something, set it face down again. The process server arrived at 8:41. Lauren was in the living room when she heard the doorbell. She did not move. She heard Anthony answer it. She heard the brief, formal exchange, the papers changing hands, the door closing, then silence. Then his footsteps crossing the floor. He came to the living room doorway. He was holding the envelope. His face was, she will think about this later, trying to name it, not shocked, more like someone who had expected a particular thing to happen and had still somehow not believed it would. Lauren. She looked at him. Patricia Woods is my attorney, she said. You'll find her contact information on page 2. She would prefer you not call me directly from this point. All communication should go through counsel. He stared at her. How long have you known? She looked at him for a long moment. At the man she had built her life around. At the father of her children. At the person who had stood in front of their family and friends and made promises he had apparently never fully intended to keep. Long enough, she said. He opened his mouth. She thought he was going to try some version of the explanation, the justification, the reframe. She had prepared for it. She had an answer ready. But he didn't say anything. He just closed his mouth. And something in his expression shifted. Not guilt, not exactly. Something more like the recognition that there was no version of this conversation where he was not exactly what the paper said he was. He left for the office. Lauren stood in the quiet living room. She looked at that family photo on the wall. She had been thinking about taking it down for weeks, but she left it up, not for Anthony, for Bobby and Chloe, because whatever had happened between her and their father that afternoon at the lake where the photo was taken, Chloe mid-jump, grinning, that had been real. That day had been real. She got her coffee from the kitchen. She sat at her white oak desk with her initials carved in the corner. She opened her laptop. She had emails to answer, a life to run, plans to make. She texted Amanda, done. Amanda replied 30 seconds later. 2 words, good, breathe. Lauren looked at her phone for a moment. Then she did exactly that. She breathed, and she started the rest. That's the end of today's story. So tell me, if you were Lauren, would you have stayed calm and planned your revenge? Or would you have confronted him the moment you found out? Drop your answers in the comment. I really want to hear what you would have done. And if this story had you hooked from the beginning to the end, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. You don't want to miss the next story.